you get a mortgage deferral, you're gonna get a mortgage deferral, everybody's gonna get a mortgage deferral. Not so fast. We're not on Oprah, and even though the government is saying that everyone can possibly get a 6-month deferral, I think especially our parents and older parts of our generation know better than anyone that what's said in the media does not necessarily come to fruition. And so being pragmatic, the first thing I did to answer this question about what does getting a mortgage deferral look like is I tried to defer some of my mortgages. So I have 4 mortgages, and 2 out of 4 I couldn't even get a ringtone. So that's how inundated you know that they are. 1 out of the 4 promptly picked up, and they had a one-size-fits-all option, which is postponing your payment 1 month at a time, and so you have to call in every single month. And of course, you're only eligible if you are purportedly economically impacted in some way. So they don't verify that in any way. They ask some questions. And then the other 1 out of the 4, basically it was an Indian call center, and they were asking screening questions about how I've been affected. Has my household income changed? Is this my principal residence or a rental or anything like that? And then that call ended with, someone who actually knows what they're talking about will get back to you in 5 to 7 business days. So that was recent enough that I haven't heard back. So that's really success at 1 out of 4. So as far as everyone getting a mortgage deferral, that's nowhere near the case. Now, I know 4 isn't really a large sample size. I actually have a long list of numbers of mortgage providers, which I'm going to provide to you guys. And I actually called every single one of them. So there were 10, and I was able to, in some form, get either a system or, they're taking your number to call you back or something like that in half of those cases. So it looks like 50% of people right now have a chance. 50% have a chance, which means the actual someone who's eligible might have something like, I don't know, speculating at 20-30% chance of deferring your mortgage. And that brings me to the question of, in what capacity are you deferring your mortgage? I think the first thing that we need to make clear is this is not debt forgiveness. You don't get to just not pay your mortgage with no consequences. And in fact, a lot of lenders are actually making money out of this. One way that they can defer your mortgage is they essentially set up a parallel loan, and so you are getting a loan for that interest, which you're paying interest on. So you're effectively paying interest on interest. So there's definitely a cost that comes with mortgage deferral. What I recommend to everyone who's been affected and thinks they might need a mortgage deferral is to at least call up and find out what their options are. I think the absolute best option is to just defer your principal payments if you can. What does that mean? Every payment has a principal part and an interest part, right? So the principal part is paying off your loan. And so you're kind of taking your money from your checking account and you're kind of putting it into the equity of your house. You're kind of paying yourself. Every time you pay off principal, you own more of your home. In a crisis like this, there's really no need to be paying off the principal. Right now, it's liquidity issues, it's cash flow issues. So if you can defer principal payments, that would be a great thing to do and keep the money liquid for unexpected. Even if you haven't lost a job but you think you may, I think that would be a great time to stop making principal payments. And so then you'd just be making interest payments. So let's say your mortgage payment is $3,000 a month. Suddenly it's $1,500 a month, which is going to make that a lot more sustainable. And then some companies won't even allow that. They just have the one size fits all. And so that's what I got on the one deferral I got, is they just said, we're going to postpone your whole mortgage and your whole payment. And so you want to ask questions like, what added costs will I incur by postponing? This is really important that you understand this, because every mortgage company, it seems, is structuring this differently, but there is most of the time some sort of a cost on you. And if the cost is more than you're willing to bear for the risk that you're taking, then you might decide not to make that deferral, right? So I think the thing that we're learning across the board in conclusion is that a deferral is not easy to have. There is a cost to it. And so, in one of the cases, they said they're going to get back to me, which means you should get on this immediately if you think this is going to be something you need, a mortgage deferral, because they might not be able to give it immediately, right? There might be some lag to it. And I think another thing worth pointing out, especially for renters who think they cannot pay rent because their landlords are not making mortgage payments, I think it should be clear that that's not the case. And the whole thing about not paying rent on April 1st is really quite silly and just not pragmatic when you think about, look, if the landlord has expenses with no income coming in, there's only one option left, and they're going to be selling the property. And the whole thing about you can't get evicted, if the property's sold and someone else is moving in, you're getting evicted. Trust me. It may be delayed, but if the conclusion should be here is that do not put your landlord in a position where they have to sell a property. If you should go to friends, you should go to family, you should make that payment work. You shouldn't ask for a rent deferral because landlords are just not in a position to do that deferral. They don't have the resources. They don't have any collateral from you. So you should definitely be making your rent payments a priority unless you want to be moving in 3 to 4 months, which, by the way, if you're moving in 3 to 4 months, what's your rental application going to look like then? If your employment's changed, who's going to take you if you have to move, right? And what do you think rent is going to be like if you're forced to leave your place in 3 to 4 months? So if you should be by hook or by crook making that payment. Otherwise, you could potentially be homeless or paying an extremely much higher rent, right? So anyway, guys, reach out if you have any questions about the mortgage deferral. I do have a list of all the numbers that you need, so reach out. Talk to you soon.